Anand Mahindra, thank you so much for joining us. So, this is now becoming a national movement, which is great. Credit has to be given, of course, to the government, the Prime Minister, for really talking about it and pushing it through. And then if you have the media getting involved, people getting involved, and corporates getting involved, hopefully it will not be an impossible dream to have an India that is much cleaner by 2018 or 2019 than it was just a few years back.
Absolutely. First of all, Vikram, Amitji, and all of you, I apologize that I couldn't be with you in the studio as I was last year. I'm not sure you know, but October 2nd happens to be our company, our group's Founders Day as well. Through a wondrous piece of cosmic coincidence, our company is registered on October 2nd, 1945. So I'm here in our office in Worli celebrating Founders Day. But it's an absolute pleasure to be back. And as far as your question is concerned, there is no question that this has become a movement. There is a survey that has come out by local circles, a community initiative, which has shown that more than 60% of people believe that a difference has already been made. And that's a substantial portion of people who do believe that things are really happening on the ground. And I am, of course, delighted that we have been able to keep the promise that we made in front of your live cameras some time ago about building toilets, and Rajiv Dubey just told you that we've kept our promise.
Right. Amitji?
Yeah, Anand, thank you so much for being with us, and yes, we do miss your presence here today. But it's wonderful to see this initiative that you have taken upon yourself, and I wish that there are many other corporates that are looking at you with a thought of as an example of what they can do as well. Because, when you start to do something good and essential and effective, then other corporates hopefully will follow. So thank you so much for this initiative. Do you intend increasing the intensity of this campaign of yours? And if so, how?
Well, Abhijit, you remember when we were there last time, we talked about building 5,000 toilets. We've built almost 4,600 of them. And the most important thing was that out of the 30 crores that we pledged towards these toilets, 6 crores was meant to be spent over this year in capacity building and education and maintenance of these toilets. You'll recall that many people were worried about the fact that corporates would simply come in, construct these toilets, and then they would be abandoned. And we would have nothing to do with the change in cultural mindset that is required in order to make these really effective. So I'm delighted to say that that work is underway right now. We still have a balance of 6 crores to spend. We committed 80,000 person hours in January this year towards the Swachh Bharat initiative. Out of that, 68,000 have already been spent in capacity building, and we are going to continue to spend on this. But as you said, much more needs to be done, and I don't think we are the only one. I'm proud of the fact that we are amongst the largest corporate contributors, but certainly we're not the only one. And if we do, through our actions, help encourage other corporates, creating a Jamun kind of effect, if you will, then I think so much greater will be the reward for us.
Yeah. Anand, one of the things that has often been heard is that everyone goes out, spends a lot of money, makes these toilets, but people don't use them. Especially in the villages, they look upon it as some kind of a storage room where they put all their stuff and still go out in the fields. Cannot there be some kind of an education in telling them that, you need to use these toilets? And I'm just going to go back a little psychologically to how human brain thinks. When we want to do something privately, we do it behind closed doors. When we go to the toilet, we close the door. Cannot we tell these people who go out into the fields for open defecation that, you're out in the open, you're doing something private, you need to have a door, you need to close the door, and maybe then direct them from there to these toilets that you have so generously donated. and get them into the habit of using them rather than going out or using it as storages.
No, absolutely, Amitji. That's exactly what I mentioned, that we have allocated 6 crores out of the 30 purely towards this kind of education. If you ask me personally, I am not clear as to which method is more effective. Do you shame people into using them, or do you educate them into the sanitation and hygiene aspects? Do you talk about the haya of people, of the need for women to do this behind closed doors? Perhaps none of those answers alone matters, and a combination of them have to happen. But our people out there are spending the balance of 20,000 person hours that we have committed out of the 80,000 person hours we committed in doing exactly what you just said. And we're going to do what's effective. I don't think there's one silver bullet. Yes, we will talk about privacy and closed doors, but I think we're also driving in the point about sanitation and hygiene in the community. So it's going to be through a combination of efforts that there will be, in my opinion, a cultural change.
Yeah.
Anand sir, one other suggestion or one other thought that I wanted to place before you. I was planning to come and do it in person, but why not do it on national TV, as it were. One of the other possible ideas that we can take forward are in some of the big cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, or any of the others. If you look at the number of high quality public toilets or public conveniences that there are, they actually don't exist. And today you are having a situation where, you know, every day people are stuck in traffic jams in Mumbai or Delhi or whatever, and if they ever need to go and use the toilet, they have a problem. Amitji and I were discussing this in one of our shows a month or so back, and he said he's himself had the experience of sometimes being stuck in a situation like that. So there is a possibility, and this becomes then a signal or a symbol for the rest of the country also, of having high quality, really clean public toilets that can be there every kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers. Give them a particular brand name, call them something like a Swachh, which means that it's at a certain standard, 3-star or 4-star standard. And that is something that then becomes a symbol for everyone to aspire to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
Ramiji, I was entering, you were talking about our people going abroad and having displaying a very different behavioral pattern than what we see here. It's not that the people do not understand. I think they feel that maybe it's available here, but if I change my fundamental habits, I'm not going to get this facility everywhere. So this kind of a dilemma in which our people are here. But
Yeah.
when they go abroad, when they know, they are assured that whenever they need a toilet, it would be around somewhere. I think that assurance is still not there in the heads of people. That's why the behavioral change
and
is
a
not.
public toilet or a public convenience is in most people's mind is not something which you can use because it will be so filthy.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm wondering whether it's one of the things we should push towards, to have a certain standard and a certain quality that maybe corporates can work about revitalizing them, put them into X number of petrol pumps or in other areas, so people know, and you can have a brand name associated with it.
Great idea.
Mr. Mahindra, and I'm going to get Mr. Bachchan to talk about some of his thoughts on this as well. But what is your take on this as a possible concept to push towards?
Yeah, Anand, before you actually answer that, may I just say that we were talking to the Chief Minister in Puducherry, and I was suggesting to him that sometimes you go abroad and you find these toilets having great artistic value. They look very artistic. Can we not construct our toilets in a manner where it becomes a piece of art that is standing there on the side of the street and makes it attractive, not just for you to go and use it, but to look at it as a piece of art as well?
Very good.
Amitji, you're saying something that resonates very, very strongly with me. I actually studied architecture for a couple of years before going on to a different profession. But I think the idea of design and integrating design into public spaces is something that in India we have sorely lacked. So I frankly think that's a brilliant idea. Vikram, you're right. Why not brand these? Why not make them frequent enough so that you can predict that there will be a facility within a certain distance that I can count on in a city like this? And there's a double whammy to this. It's not only a benefit to our own citizens and people stuck in traffic, as you cited, but I think the Prime Minister understands one other very, very huge dividend from this Swachh Bharat movement, and that is the attractiveness of India to foreign tourists.
Yeah.
You know that we are woefully behind the rest of the world in terms of how many tourists we attract. Compared to the natural beauty and the size of this country, we hardly get 10 million tourists, which is ridiculous. London and Paris get 60 million. One of the reasons, which is unspoken, because people are politically correct, tourists say they simply find the city to be unclean and public facilities to be absent. So there is a huge economic benefit as well in a Swachh Bharat movement, which will take India to the world and, of course, improve us economically. But I want to end on Amitji's point about design. Brilliant idea. I second that completely, and I think we really should make it a focus that these should not be simply functional facilities. Let's make them iconic in terms of design.
All right.
Thank you so much, Anand. Thank you.
Mr. Mahindra, thank you so much for joining us.